Krishna Hare 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 Krishna Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama Hare Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama Hare Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama Hare Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare No Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Rama, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama, Hare Hare. Gaur Premanande. Thank you, Prabhu. Hare Krishna. We'll start on page 1 with the introductory prayers. Om Jnana Taranandasya Jananjana Shalakaya Chakshurunmeritam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. Shri Chaitanya Manobhistam Stapitam Yena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Kadamayam Tadati Swapadantikam Vandeham Shri Guru Shri Yuta Padakamalam Shri Gurun Vaishnavam Agana. Sahagana Lalita Shri Vishakam He Krishna Karuna Sindhu Dinabandhu Jagatpate Gopesha Gopika Kanta Radha Kanta Namostute Tapta Kanchana Gaurangi Radhe Vrindavaneshwari Vrishabhanustute Devi Pranamami Hari Priye Vanchakalpa tarubhyascha kripa sindhu bhevacha patitanam pavanebhyo vaishnavebhyo namo namaha Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shivasari Gaura Bhaktavinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. We're continuing with Chapter 7, Knowledge of the Absolute. We're on page 383. Naham prakasha sarvasya yogamaya samavritaha udhoyam nipijalanti loko mamajamavyayam. I am never manifest to the foolish and unintelligent. For them I am covered by my eternal creative potency, Yogamaya. And so the deluded world knows me not, who am unborn and infallible. 26. Vedaham samadhitani vardamani charjuna bhavishyani jabhutani mamtu veda nakinchana. O Arjuna, as the Supreme Personality of Godhead, I know everything that has happened in the past, and all that is happening in the present, and all the things that are yet to come. I also know all living entities, but me no one knows. 27. Ichadvisha samutena dvandva mohena bharata sarva bhutani sammoham sargayanti parantapa. O sign of Bharata, Arjuna, O conqueror of the foe, all living entities are born into delusion by the dualities of desire and hate. Esham tvantagatam prapam jnanam bhunya karmanam te dvandva mohanir mukta bhajante madrita vritaha. Persons who have acted piously in previous lives and in this life, whose sinful actions are completely eradicated and who are free from the duality of delusion, engage themselves in my service with determination. 29. Jara marana mokshaya mama shritaya yantite te brahma tadvitu krishnam adyatmanam karma chalikam. Intelligent persons who are endeavoring for liberation from old age, disease, and death take refuge in devotional service. They are actually Brahman because they entirely know everything about transcendental and fruitive activities. 30. Sadhi bhuta daivam ram sadhan jajam chate vidu prayena kale picha mam devidur yukta chesasa. Those who know me as the Supreme Lord, as the governing principle of the material manifestation, who know me as the one underlying all the demigods, and as the one sustaining all sacrifices, can with a steadfast mind attain and know me even at the time of death. Understand and know me, 1 on chapter 8. Arjuna uvacha kim tad brahma kim adhyatmam kim karma purushottama adibhutam cha kim proktam adidaivam kim uchyate. Arjuna inquired, O my Lord, O Supreme Person, what is Brahman? What is the Self? What are fruitive activities? What is this material manifestation? And what are the demigods? Please explain this to me. 2. Adhiyagya katam gotra dehismin madhusudana praya kaleja katam yenosni natatatmavihi. Shri Gaura Nitai ki jai. How does this Lord of sacrifice live in the body? And in which part does he live, O Madhusudana? And can those engaged in devotional service know you at the time of death? 3. Shri Bhagavan Uvacha Aksharam Brahma Paramam Sabhavo Datyamam Uchate Bhuta Badho Bhavakalo Visharga Kama Samjitaha. The Supreme Lord said, the indestructible, transcendental living entity is called Brahman, and his eternal nature is called the Self. Action pertaining to the development of these material bodies is called karma or fruitive activities. 4. Adhibhutam charo bhava purushas daivatam adhiyagyo hamevatra dehi deha britam vara. Physical nature is known to be endlessly mutable. The universe is the cosmic form of the Supreme Lord, and I am that Lord represented as the Supersoul, dwelling in the heart of every embodied being. 5. Anta kale chamameva smaram mukva kalevaram ya prayati sadma bhavam yati nastyatra samchaya. And whoever at the time of death quits his body, remembering me alone, at once attains my nature. Of this there is no doubt. And 6. Yam yam vapi smaram bhavam jajatyante kalevaram tam tam ivaiti konteya saratad bhava bhavitaha. Whatever state of being one remembers when he quits his body, that state he will attain without fail. Okay, back to text 26. O Arjuna, as the Supreme Personality of Godhead, I know everything that has happened in the past, all that is happening in the present, and all things are yet to come, that are yet to come. I also know all living entities, but me, no one knows. Here the question of personality and impersonality is clearly stated. If Krishna, the form of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, is considered by the impersonalists to be Maya, to be material, then he would, like the living entity, change his body and forget everything in his past life. Anyone with a material body cannot remember his past life, nor can he foretell his future life, nor can he predict the outcome of his present life. Therefore, he cannot know what is happening in the past, present, and future. Unless one is liberated from material contamination, he cannot know past, present, and future. Unlike the ordinary human being, Lord Krishna clearly says that he completely knows what happened in the past, what is happening in the present, and what will happen in the future. In the 4th chapter, we have seen that Lord Krishna remembers instructing Vivaswan, the sun god, millions of years ago. Krishna knows every living entity because he is situated in every living being's heart as the Supreme Soul. But despite his presence in every living entity as the Supersoul, and his presence beyond the material sky, as the Supreme Personality of Godhead, the less intelligent cannot realize him as the Supreme Person. Certainly, the transcendental body of Sri Krishna is not perishable. He is just like the sun, and Maya is like the cloud. In the material world, we can see that there is the sun, and there are clouds, and different stars and planets. The clouds may cover all these in the sky temporarily, but this covering is only apparent to our limited vision. The sun, moon, and stars are not actually covered. Similarly, Maya cannot cover the Supreme Lord. By his internal potency, he is not manifest to the less intelligent class of men, as it is stated in the 3rd verse of this chapter. Out of millions and millions of men, some try to become perfect in this human form of life, and out of thousands and thousands of such perfected men, hardly one can understand what Lord Krishna is. Even if one is perfected by realization of impersonal Brahman or localized Paramatma, he cannot possibly understand the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Sri Krishna, without being in Krishna consciousness. So this 7th chapter here, it particularly explains how a devotee, or one coming to know Krishna, can become fully Krishna consciousness. This chapter is entitled Knowledge of the Absolute. And this chapter goes over many things, one of them being how we can come to Krishna consciousness, sadhu sangha, sarve shastre hoy, lavamatra sadhu sangha sarva siddhi hoy. So Lord Chaitanya says this in a verse in Chaitanya Charitamrita, by even a moment's association with a pure devotee, one can know success. So we need this sadhu sangha in order to become Krishna conscious. It's actually inevitable. If we spend time with a pure devotee, try our best to surrender unto the Supreme Personality of Godhead, we will become Krishna conscious. This is the formula. It's a scientific process, and Prabhupada and the Vaishnavacharyas give us a formula to understand this. So such association, it's completely spiritual, and it puts one directly in touch with the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Sri Krishna. And by His grace, then one can understand Him. At the same time, one can really understand the constitutional position of the living entity by sadhu sangha, devotee association. So we're all wondering what the heck are we doing here? What are we supposed to be doing with our life? And also this sadhu sangha, it gives us a glimpse. It actually tells us factually what we're supposed to be doing here. We're supposed to be serving the Supreme Personality of Godhead, thinking about Him always, meditating on Him, conversing with the devotees about His pastimes. And in this way, this pleases the Supreme Personality of Godhead. And when the Supreme Personality of Godhead is pleased, then the devotee can derive great satisfaction and bliss conversing about Him and doing different services about Him. So Krishna lets us know this in the Bhagavad Gita. And Prabhupada was talking about how when we forget Krishna, the living entity, it falls into a pool of, material activities, trying to please his senses, serve, his family, his dog, his wife, his body. And all of these are what the materialist is thinking that he is. He's thinking, I am American, I am Hindu, I am Muslim, I am in this body, I am 6'7", I am, this, I am that. But this is not who we are. We're an eternal servant of Krishna. We're a spirit soul. So, by development of Krishna consciousness and, healthy association with pure devotees, we can come to this understanding that we're not these bodies, that we're, a spirit soul, Aham Brahmasmi. So, the laws of material nature are such that when somebody is not associating properly with devotees, he falls into this pool. So, in Nectar of Instruction, Srila Rupa Goswami, he gives us 6 things that are favorable for devotional service and 6 things that are unfavorable for devotional service. And one of these things that are unfavorable for devotional service is associating with the non-devotees. And why? Why do we not associate with non-devotees? Because they're simply just croaking like toads. This is, they're just ribbit, making noises basically with their mouth, just wanting to hear themselves speak. They're not speaking about anything worthwhile or, actually bring satisfaction at all. They're just kind of speaking about temporary, mundane, material things. And when we get association like this, we become very mundane. But when we stay in the association of devotees, especially pure devotees, we're so fortunate to have here that association, then we can come to the platform of understanding Krishna, which is not attained so easily. So, Krishna, he's talking about intelligence in the verse before this. He says, I'm never manifest to the foolish and unintelligent. So one may ask, for instance, what is your definition of intelligence? Because there's so many things that one can become intelligent about, learning in school, these scientists, they They have so much speculative knowledge, and one may mistake them for being intelligent. They may speak learned words, but in actuality, they don't know who they are. So how can one be intelligent without knowing, who the heck he is? So an example of intelligence is seeing something and being able to recognize that it doesn't just come out of nowhere, right? Like every day we offer flowers to Krishna. There's one over there, right? In Arti, we offer a nice flower. An intelligent person, he thinks, wow, this flower, where does it come from? It has beautiful colors. Where do those colors come from? It has a beautiful fragrance. Where does this fragrance come from? An intelligent person can recognize that in order for something to be there, it needs some type of creator. It has to come from something. Who has given this wonderful flower the ability to create more and more flowers? And an intelligent person recognizes that this person who made it is God. And in this way, he can see God. This is intelligent. So many people ask, can you show me God? Can you see God? We can see God with our intelligence. He doesn't have to be here. We don't have to see him face to face in order to see him. Just like we know that there's a president of the United States. Right? We say, the president is not here now. He's there. But we know he's still there. Just because he's not here face to face, that doesn't mean he doesn't exist. So just like these heaters in the temple room, they're running, right? The heaters are running, and the powerhouse of electricity that is supplying the heater, it is not here right now. We can't see that, but we know that the heater is running. If somebody just said, oh, the heater, it runs by itself, that would be incorrect. Because we know as soon as you flip those two end switches over there, we learned the other day, Mangadari and I, as soon as you flip those, this whole side of the temple room goes out. The heater, it doesn't run anymore. The electricity, it's no longer being supplied to the heater in order for it to run. And the room becomes cold. The room becomes dark. There's no lights that will work. So just because the powerhouse is not physically situated here in this room, that doesn't mean it doesn't exist. Similarly, Krishna, he's creating everything. He says, Madhya harakshena prakritihi suyate sa characharam etuna nena kunteya jagad vipapartate. This material nature is working under my direction, O son of Kunti, and it is producing all moving and unmoving beings. By its rule, this manifestation is created and annihilated again and again. So Krishna's telling us, he's behind everything. And when somebody is behind everything, when everything is emanating from something, he has to know it because it's all coming from him. So the present, the past, the future, it's all coming from him. So why wouldn't he know it? It's very easy for him to know. It's all coming from him. We can't understand it. It's not all coming from us. But Krishna, he knows it all. And like Prabhupada was saying, he tells Arjuna, my dear devotee, I've instructed this science to you before. I instructed it many, many years ago to the sun god Vivasvan. And he says, he's senior to me in birth. How don't I know this? How don't I know this science? He said, you don't remember it. But I do. I remember everything. Krishna, he remembers all the past, all the future, for time immemorial. He knows what's going to happen. He knows what's happening in all of our minds. He knows what we're thinking. He knows what we're doing. He knows our intentions behind actions. Because he's the cause of all causes. And these rascals, these grossly foolish people, that he's talking about, they cannot understand him. Just like in the assembly of the Kurus. When they were assembled, Shishupal, he spoke against Krishna. He was envious. It says, fools deride me. They're envious. They have some beef with Krishna. They have some problem with the Supreme Personality of Godhead, and they can't understand him as thus. They're covered over by Yogamaya. So Bhishma, he was supporting Krishna, and he could recognize that he was the Supreme Personality of Godhead. But Shishupal, he couldn't recognize this. He couldn't know. For them I am covered by my eternal creative potency, Yogamaya, and so the deluded world knows me not, who am unborn and infallible. So Bhishma could see that Krishna was God. But Shishupal, a rascal, he couldn't understand this. Why? Because we require special eyes to see the Lord. They were both there with Krishna. Only one of them could see. And how do we develop these special eyes? Tesham satata yuktanam bhajatanam pritipurvakam dadami buddhi yogam tam yena mam upayantite. To those who are constantly devoted me and serving me with love, I give the understanding by which they can come to me. So unless you are qualified, how can you see Krishna? This is the point. Krishna is there, and the rascal Shishupal, he couldn't see him. Bhishma could. So they say, can you show me God? Like I was saying, even if God comes before you, you don't have the eyes to see him. Premananja Charita, it's called, when your eyes will be anointed with the salve of love. How can we get this, Prabhus? How can we be eager to get this? Well, Prabhupada, he was talking about in the purport a bit that when we're no longer identifying with these temporary bodies and all the things in relation to these bodies, that is a step towards attaining this. Only the pure soul can develop that salve of love that we're after in order to see Krishna. Everyone else is busy identifying with material things. So to understand the position of the soul and to engage in the service of the Lord is actually Brahmabhuta. This is a genuine understanding of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Knowing that I am his servant, he is supplying everything. Why not just go on and serve him? I will be totally taken care of. I have no need to fear, no need to worry. I'm in nice association of devotees. This is Krishna consciousness. Krishna says, Aham sarvasya prabhavo mata sarvam pravartate iti matva bhajante mam buddha bhava samavitaha. He is the source of all spiritual and material worlds. Everything emanates from me. The wise, who perfectly know this, engage in my devotional service and worship me with all their hearts. So this is what we're after. This is what we're trying to do. So, here in text 27, we'll go on, a text, O sign of Bharata, Arjuna, O conqueror of the foe, all living entities are born into delusion, overcome by the dualities of desire and hate. The real constitutional position of the living entity is that of subordination to the Supreme Lord, who is pure knowledge. When one is deluded into separation from this pure knowledge, he becomes controlled by illusory energy and cannot understand the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Yes, so there's the Mayavadis, or there's the Brahmavadis. There's namely two different classes of transcendentalists. There's the Brahmavadis and there's the Vaishnavas. And they're both elevated in their own respect. It's said that somebody who starts to practice the Brahmavad or the Mayavadi philosophy, it's said that they're in the last snare of Maya. It's kind of like the last covering over. And they imperfectly think that, the goal of life is to become one with the Supreme. And in that way, they think themselves to be Narayan, which is a misconception. The material world, there's many saintly persons in this world, and they're going on giving up so many things in pursuance of, God consciousness, or trying to think about God or serve God or become God. And the Mayavadis, they think, well, God, he doesn't need anything, so since I'm God, let me give, these things up. But the problem with this is all of the time, they're mistaking Brahman realization for the end goal. So they're thinking like, let me give up these things, let me meditate on the impersonal unmanifest within Krishna. It's not actually Krishna. Meditate on the light, the Brahman effulgence. But it's like, if you get a flight to California and you have one layover, and your flight stops in Vegas, and you mistake the layover, you mistake Vegas for California, and you get off, does that mean that you're at the end goal? No, it doesn't. And this Brahman effulgence, it's emanating from the Supreme Person. Krishna says that. So we know that there's a source to everything. There's nothing in this material world without a source. So this Brahman effulgence, it also has to have a source. So these yogis, they get into this state of, impersonal realization, and they may be able to sustain it for some time. But as Prabhupada was talking about in the purport later on, I don't think I read it, but he mentions that they're deluded. People become deluded or contaminated by desire or hate or duality. And in that way, they come back down off that platform. So a desire, it creeps into their head. And because they're not anchored in devotional service, they don't have an anchor that everything I am doing is for God. They're just busy manipulating material energy. As soon as a desire comes up, they come down from this Brahman realization platform. Whereas the Vaishnava, he spiritualizes all of his desires, and in that way, he becomes purified. And then all of his desires throughout everything he does every day becomes spiritual. All of his desires revolve around, how can I please my Lord? So this is the safety net from being able to fall down back into the material pool of things. We have a spiritual anchor. We're doing everything for God. In that way, all of our activities become spiritual. It's not that we're giving up activities. And there's maybe some time for one more verse, 28. Persons who have acted piously in previous lives, and in this life, whose sinful actions are completely eradicated, and who are freed from the duality of delusion, engage themselves in my service. So here Krishna, he's actually speaking of like some qualifications of somebody to be able to practice bhakti yoga. In this way, we can see the Supreme Personality of Godhead. He knows past, present, and future, because he's speaking about past lives here. We know nothing about past lives. We can get a glimpse from what Krishna says. Anyone who takes this way of Vaishnava living up, becomes an aspiring Vaishnava, he surely has rendered devotional service in his past. This is what he means by pious activities. He doesn't just mean this person was not a smoker in his past life, he didn't drink alcohol, he didn't eat meat, he didn't gamble. No, those things are included. But these pious activities that he's talking about, it means he's put some currency into his spiritual bank account, and he has taken back off where he left from last life. And we can see this. Everyone in this room is amongst, scripturally speaking, the highest births we can basically take. In India, Bharatvarsh is said to be a very high birth too, but Krishna says, an inspiring transcendentalist, if he falls down, he takes birth into a wealthy family, rich aristocracy, or a family of devotees. These are the two highest births that somebody can take. And we know that United States, it's one of the wealthiest countries on the planet. These bodies, these American bodies, what did Srila Prabhupada call us? The white elephants, the dancing white elephants. These American bodies, they're strong. They're suited to fit Krishna, where there's some intelligence there. Although we were contaminated and we didn't know that, for 20 years when I was eating my parents' cooking, I was sinning. Although we didn't know that, once we understood it, once somebody told us that, this is a sin and, you shouldn't be eating these things or like that, once we knew that, we were able to implement it or strive to implement it. So this human birth, it should be utilized for God realization. It should be utilized for knowing the Supreme Person, who is Atmaram. He's fully satisfied in himself, completely. He doesn't need anything material. So what do? We offer with love and devotion a leaf, flower, fruit, some water to him, and he accepts it. We offer prayers to him. We offer devotional service to him. He pays attention to the love that we're giving to him, the devotion. He doesn't pay attention to the opulence or the material manifestation of what that devotion looks like. He just pays attention to the love. And that's how you can serve somebody who is totally self-satisfied within himself. He doesn't get any pleasure from the material energy. It doesn't give him any thrill. He's far beyond, trying to enjoy mundane material matter. But he certainly enjoys when he sees there's so many temptations. Maya is so strong. This person, he is tempted in America 100% of the time. There is Maya being thrown at him in this material world. And he has chose to take shelter in my house and go on and try to serve me with everything. He sees that. That's what pleases the Lord. And in this way, the devotees are happier than anyone else on the planet. Completely satisfied, serving their Lord. Not hankering, not lamenting, completely satiated. All they want is to be able to serve their Lord and sadhu sangha. So Prabhu, this is some nice sadhu sangha that we have all the time. Don't take it for granted. Everyone here is a very, very special soul. We're all endeavoring each day to try to serve God and, according to our capacity. So keep it up. Keep it up. Keep serving the authorities. You please your authority, you please Krishna. The spiritual master, he's facilitating everybody to serve to their best capacity, exactly the way that they're inclined. So this is a very special place. Rupanuga Vedic College Ki Jai. Does anyone have any pressing questions this evening? Or any comments they would like to make? Dr. Fred Prabhu?
Hare Krishna, Prabhu. Thanks for the wonderful class, and please accept my humble obeisances. I have a question, and everything you said was really enlightening, and I really do appreciate it. I guess, are we in our constitutional position, or are we just on the track to that? It says at the end of this purport to text 28, the impersonalists do not know that forgetting their constitutional position as subordinate to the Supreme Lord is the greatest violation of God's law. Unless one is reinstated in his own constitutional position, it is not possible to understand the Supreme Personality or to be fully engaged in his transcendental loving service with determination. So, are we on the process to achieving or to being situated in determination by being situated in sadhu sangha? Or yeah, I guess I'll leave that like that.
Yeah, Hare Krishna. Yeah, nice question. So, yes, the impersonalists, they think that they are God, or that they're equal to God, or they're trying to become God. And in this way, they forget that they're less than God, that they're not in charge of everything, you know? So they misunderstand Vedanta, and they come to these speculative conclusions. Whereas it depends. You asked if we're in our constitutional position now or we're on the way. So it depends, you know, where we're at. A simple question: do you know that you're an eternal spirit soul whose position is to serve the Lord?
Philosophically, I understand that, but I'm still in this body, and I find myself questioning what my Svarupya Siddhi is, maybe. But like, I know that, or I have the idea that I am a servant of the Lord, and that I think I have a realization that there's no way of not serving something, and I'm blatantly less than many people, and God's unquestionable that I'm less than him.
Yeah, that's good. So bhakti, another aspect of this verse that Krishna is describing in text 28, he's giving like levels. Bhakti has different levels, just like school has different grades. And basically, he's saying like, how do you progress in bhakti in these next verses? And he says, bhajanti bhajan. In bhajan, he's referring to devotional service. He's not just referring to, like singing or chanting. He's referring to bhajan as devotional service in this verse. So somebody who is actually rendering devotional service amongst, sadhus, they're well on their way of, advancing in these grades of so-called school. So you may have an understanding of this term philosophically, which is very good. That is a start. If somebody doesn't know that they need to pursue an education or go to school in order to, attain a job, they're not going to be able to do it. So this is a preliminary thing, is to understand that, okay, it says I'm a spirit soul, it says to go on serving. Let me try to follow that, because I see that, there's many people I have met who are not like the people I meet out there. You know what I mean? And then we have to have just simple faith that, Krishna, he will provide what I lack and he'll carry what I have.
So in sadhana bhakti, we're really practicing and endeavoring to achieve determination in Krishna consciousness, and then from that point we will progress. Okay.
Yes. So, for instance, like the bhakti program here, there's a certain schedule that the devotees, go on for 3 months, and then after that, sometimes it's very difficult for some devotees. Some devotees, it's very easy. or it becomes natural. This 3 months, it's set up to try to get the sadhaka on a schedule and interested in these activities, basically. Yeah, it's meant to be set up so around the clock you get a taste for being able to serve all the time, you know? So it's set up to spark that fire of determination, and we have to cultivate it, and we have to keep putting kindle on the fire, you know? And you increase slowly different services, the quality of your services, but at first you need to at least get a taste for it, some kind of taste. So the Bhakti program is set up in this way, so we can hopefully get some kind of taste. And then when we graduate the Bhakti program, we have to kind of be able to do it on our own, in a sense. We have sadhu sangha and people encouraging us still, but we don't have somebody following us around 24/7 anymore. So we get to make the choice on our own. Okay, am I going to do these things that I've been learning for the past 3 months? Or am I going to be a rascal and deviate from, you know, my instructions? You know, and then down the line, you learn some more subtleties and grow. And in this way, you develop fixed determination to want to serve and not waste a moment, because every moment is so valuable. This human birth, it's so valuable, Prabhu. The demigods are basically lining up to take birth so they can join the Sankirtan movement. So just, if we remember that, we won't want to waste any time. We'll cultivate some determination and try to go back home this life. No questions asked. You know, let's try to go back home. Hare Krishna. Okay, anything else that anyone wants to add or ask? Okay, thank you for tolerating me and kindly hearing Srimad Bhagavad Gita as it is. Srila Prabhupada ki jai. All glories to the assembled devotees. Vanchakalpatarubhyascha kripa sindhubhyevacha patitanam pavanebhyo vaishnavebhyo namo namaha.